Every single child born in the United States is disobedient, lazy, and disrespectful, and will amount to nothing, absolutely nothing in life. There's absolutely no hope for them, and we're just managing them. That's the opinion that many Africans have of their kids and children that are born in the United States. And let me be specific. I am Cameroonian. I was born in Cameroon, and I spent part of my childhood in the United States and part in Cameroon. And 3 days ago, I was at a funeral. Like, somebody died, and we went to their house to console the family. And as a typical African, people come around, people sit around and eat and chit chat and so on. And so during one of those conversations, we were talking, and I was very shocked to hear a lot of older Africans express their disappointment with kids born in the United States. And I was like, where's the disappointment coming from? And mind you, they're not speaking in English. Of course, they're using their language to speak. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. I can understand the language, so that's not a big deal for me. And I just sit there and listen. And they're like, yeah, kids are disrespectful. And they go off of they're going off of what they're seeing on TV, how they're seeing some kids behave and so on. And they're like, oh, too, kids are disrespectful in the United States because in the US, we give them so many rights. They're allowed to talk back to their parents. They're allowed to have an opinion. They're allowed to not listen if they don't want to, and so on. And then I jump in and I ask them, have you looked at the statistic to see how many kids get abused? How many little kids get murdered every year because of their parents abusing them? Do you ever care to take a step back and think, maybe there are a lot of laws to protect kids because a lot of child abuse happen. And that's why we have laws to sort of mitigate that. And they're like, oh yeah, that could be true, but that doesn't excuse anything. And they're still very disrespectful, and they feel like they can do and say whatever they want, and so on. So then that got me sort of thinking, if we're not raising our kids, how do we expect them to turn out right? And I say we're not raising our kids because I've seen so many Africans leave their kids in the care of their parents. For example, when a woman is pregnant, one thing that is popularly done among Africans in the US is to bring a grandma or an aunt to come and live in and basically take care of that child and be a caregiver full time. And one thing about that is that the child also sometimes lose out because the culture is completely different. Oftentimes, the grandma can't speak English. We live in an English country. What do the kids do, right? And then the grandma is not in tune with the different culture, the technology, and so on, so that kids have an opportunity to literally roam around and do whatever they want, while the parents are at work, literally working 24 hours and then sending the money back home to take care of extended family that oftentimes are pretending that they need the money. And so a lot of time too, Africans in the diaspora, parents particularly, neglect their own household and their own kids to prioritize taking care of people back home. And then when they're not correcting the kids, when they're not building the relationship with the kid, and problem arises, the first thing they go to is that because they are in America, they're disrespectful. America made them disrespectful. It's not that. The child never have time with you. The child never have time to bond with you. The child never have time to literally sit down and have a conversation, talk about what's bothering them and everything. And another terrible mentality that we have as African too is like, oh, America is the land of the dreams, fairy tales. The kids should absolutely not complain. They have no excuses to be depressed. They have no excuses to complain about anything at all. And I'm like, your reality and your past does not define somebody's reality and their present in a completely different environment. And I think oftentimes we are looking at it like, oh, if you are in Africa, you won't be complaining because I had to walk 100 miles to school. No, they're not in Africa. That doesn't mean they don't have their own problems. And their problems isn't walking 200 miles to school. Their problem is being bullied at school, which I still feel like a lot of Africans don't understand. And they're like, no, it's okay. Stand up to your bully. Just be nice. Everything will be good. No, it's so much more complex than that. And I see us working extremely hard and sending the money back home. The little that we get, we use it to buy really fancy stuff, cars, clothes, big houses, to impress people that don't really give a shit about us. And this is all like a cycle of competition where we're competing against each other for material things that really don't matter, and we end up neglecting our family. Like, just going to the park and playing and talking to your kid is extremely important. The things that little kids desire the most, I've seen, is attention. I don't have kids, but I am an aunt to many nieces and nephews, and they like me a lot. Not because I give them things, but because I give them my attention and my time. Like on Saturday, I'm picking them up and we're going out on a little museum to see things, or we're going to the park to just play, or sometimes we're literally just going to Starbucks and getting a drink and sitting down and chit-chatting about your week. And in those conversations, you start to understand the child, you start to understand the personalities and the things that are bothering them. And I don't think many African parents really take the time to sit back and say, oh, let me find a way to really bond with my kid, to create a relationship where if they have problems in the future, they can trust that they can come to me and talk to me about their problems. And so when you don't form that relationship and a child get to their teenage years and or maybe grow up and feel disengaged from you and they're acting up, your automatic response is, oh no, it's because they're born in the United States. They're disrespectful. This is expected from them. They're lazy. They are disobedient. It's the rights that the American government give to kids that allows them not to grow and be great in the past. I've seen people raise incredible African kids, but I've seen too many African parents complaining about things that they can easily sit back, reflect, and change. Nobody is born evil. I think the way we raise someone is incredibly important, and we don't really consider that. Instead, we're like so fast to like put stereotypes in kids and expect them to become the worst because we can't spank them, or the American government is giving rights to kids, and it's not true. I say, if you are saying American government give too many rights to kids, also look at how much and how many times in the news you see a kid being stuffed in the microwave, being abused, being left at home alone for weeks and dying because of hunger. And that's because adults who are negligent, and they need to be held accountable. So before we're quick to call out American-born kids or American-born Africans for being disrespectful, I think we should also be quicker to reflect on our own action and retrace our steps. This is my little 2 cents, and let me know how you feel about this topic.